There we go. Welcome, welcome. Good morning and happy June. It's hard to believe we're else already 9 days into June. I swear time is going faster and faster. The more we try to slow it down, right? So welcome to our Inner Circle Success Call this morning. As always, let's start with celebrations. What's everybody celebrating this morning? You're muted, Lisa. Go ahead, Laura.
I am celebrating that I have a new microphone setup for recording the crystal bowls, and they actually sound really good. And so I still get to there's still some more improvement to be had, but it's like a huge step in the right direction. So
That's awesome.
with one of the yoga studios I play at opening up like soon as well, they're already taking up to 9 people now. I actually have the ability to have people in the room and be recording it for people that aren't in the room. So I get to start doing that and really leveraging my time.
That is perfect. And yeah, and maybe when we're done, you can share a little bit about how you've been doing the crystal bowls, because it could be something that could apply to Teresa and Lisa as they're starting to do a little bit more workshop kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And you had 3 events this last weekend, right?
I did.
Wow.
And the note to self is to remind, well, I usually play on the first weekend of the month, to remind in June the second weekend is better because everybody graduates the first weekend.
Oh,
So
sure.
it was all good, but attendance was affected. So
Yeah.
last year I had a graduate, so I didn't play that weekend.
Sure.
So note to self.
Yeah. That makes sense. Teresa or Lisa, what you celebrating? You're both. Yeah, go ahead, Lisa.
I'll come in. What I'm celebrating is really I just am on day 5 of a 5-day no client kind of respite. And so I'm celebrating that, and also just realizing in that celebration how, I have been on like massive acceleration mode for 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And what goes up must come down. So there was just this like generator of energy and energy and energy and energy and energy, and so being in a little bit of rest in that, and just I like the up. I've always liked the high. I've always liked the acceleration. I always like the generation. I always like the go. And so finding how to be in the pause,
Mm-hmm.
and to be in that, like, because I have to regenerate. I can't keep going at that frequency. I need to integrate. So I'm celebrating the wisdom of that. I'm celebrating the 5 days, and I'm celebrating that my son just graduated from high school.
Yeah.
Which is a really big deal. And gosh, there's been so much emotion that comes with it. I don't know how to explain it. It's like this rite of passage, and I think that it's like really giving our whole family this like reorganization, like, okay, who are we together and where are we going? And like, it's just really like palpably interesting to feel it. So yeah, and lots of celebration in that, and lots of like mama emotion in it. Yeah.
I'm sure Laura can appreciate it with Dylan graduating last year. I'm sure it's still fresh. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And congratulations to you too, because it's a lot of investment on parents' part too.
Yeah, thank you.
How about you, Teresa?
Yeah, I just want to speak to that for just one moment. Is that when both of my daughters, when they graduated, I mean, there was the moment of celebration for them, and then there was the moment of celebration for me, because it's getting them through, whether they're good students or not good students or what kind of children. I mean, it's a lot, and it's like, wow, I freaking did it! Congratulations to me, seriously. And I said that, yeah. So right on, Lisa.
Yeah.
And Laura. So yeah, I'm celebrating a couple things. I'm celebrating the fact that, well, Sherry's done an amazing job to help me with my Facebook ad, and I'm grateful. And so far I have 1 consultation, which is today. So yay. And so that's pretty awesome. And then I'm celebrating the fact that I asked for more money yesterday from someone, and it took a lot because it's a colleague and it's a friend. And she came back with, like, as I knew she would. It just was like, oh, it just like, I'm so sorry, Teresa, I made the assumption, like, my bad, that you'd be doing it for the same rate this next go around. And we worked it out, and it was just,
That's
a
so
win-win for both of us. So
awesome.
that was cool. Yeah.
That is so awesome. And coming from it's a place of power and a place
Mhm.
of deserving and all of those amazing things. So good for you. And I just want to also celebrate with Teresa on her Facebook ad. She's getting $1.26 leads. It's like I told her I would kill to get $1.26 leads. So yeah, and got her first consult with, you had 15 people, I think it signed up.
Yeah, 15. I have, yeah, that's doubled
Okay,
since, but still,
yeah.
so anyway, yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Awesome. Okay. So this morning, I wanted to take just a couple of minutes or a few minutes here before we dive into questions, um, to really just open the space a little bit to talk about what's been going on in the media and obviously after the events of, I think it was 2 weeks ago today, with George Floyd in Minneapolis, and just kind of everything that's happened, not just in our country, but also how you've handled it in your business. Because I'm going to be totally honest, I've struggled with it. I've struggled with what the best way to address it, because there's the elephant in the room. And, and I personally have chosen to do a couple of things, but I've treaded softly, I have to be honest. And so I really wanted to open up for just some discussion on, has it come up for you? I know, Laura, you changed. I've been more sensitive to what I've been posting. I know Laura changed a newsletter that she was going to do because it didn't, what she was planning didn't really seem appropriate. Just wanted to open the discussion, and honestly, just how you're feeling too, because I know we're all feeling, the emotions of what's happened, and the pain and the sorrow and the grief and the anger and all those emotions all kind of at once. So anything come to mind that anybody would like to share?
I would. First, I want to say that I saw your 2 on Tuesday last week, and you did address it. And I wanted to say you did a wonderful job, Sherry, of addressing it in your
Thank
way
you.
for your business. Yeah, I totally appreciated that. Yeah, it definitely hits home for me with my children. I have biracial children and grandchildren, pretty much all African American grandchildren. And so hits home. And at the same time, I get to look at my own racial injustices as well, as being a woman of color. So what I've done in my business is immediately, because it was just a compulsion for me to do this, is I wrote an email out, and I began it with, I write this with a heavy heart.
Mm-hmm.
And what I asked, I just, went through some stuff, and I had a picture of all different color hands like coming together. And at the end of that, I said, my ask of you is to honor this in some way as it feels fitting. And I said, whether it's a song you play to, some form of tension. Not everybody can be on the front line, is what I said, out there cleaning up and that sort of thing. So I did that. And actually today, it's interesting that, of course, how synchronistic that you bring it up, is that I think I'm going to put something else out today, or write it up today, and say, what do you need from me? How can I support you with the work that I do? It's not about buying or anything. It's like, how could I support you? What do you need to hear from me?
Mm-hmm.
And I have that one letter that I wrote last week, so many people responded. Thank you, Teresa. This is what I'm doing. They shared a meditation. They made up stuff like that. It was so,
That's
it just like, I was so emotional about it. It was like so wonderful and beautiful. So I just feel the need to reach out again today.
Yeah, that's awesome.
At least by tomorrow.
And maybe there's a way you could honor some of those people anonymously, in terms of sharing some of the things that your community is doing.
Oh,
that could be really spreading, kind of continuing to spread the energy of people giving back. I love that.
Yeah, thank you for that that nudge.
Yeah. Laura, Lisa, anything coming up for you?
Yeah, there's a lot coming up. I mean, I'm in a biracial relationship, and I'm raising a half Black human who is, moving into the world. And and it's hitting super close to home. I mean, my partner said last week we were walking down to a neighbor's house, and he was like, I haven't been out for a walk since the first gentleman was killed who was running. And just that reality that he isn't comfortable walking in our own neighborhood really hit me. So how I've been it's been a lot of conversation. Like, I know that we as privileged white people want to jump to action, and we want to rescue, and we want to do something, and we want to. And so I asked Tim, I'm like, what's this like? Because so many people are asking me, and there's so much coming up. Like, a girlfriend yesterday was like wanting to, like, she's sponsored by a lot of people on social media, and she's wanting to speak to on social media, and she destroyed some of her relationships for sponsorship. And it's just like, it's all so hyperbolic. And so what's coming through me, and what I'm talking with Tim, he's like, I'm like, what do I say? What do I do? And he's like, how about you just be quiet?
Mm-hmm.
And how about you listen?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really embodying that. Like, we are so primed to go out and to do something and to make our voices be heard. And I stand with you, and I'm in solidarity. And maybe it's just time that we shut the fuck up. I mean that with all the love in my heart. And I've been reflecting this morning. I'm like, our voices are always the loudest voices in the room. If we're going to empower these people, we're going to empower them by standing by their side and allowing them to find their power.
Mm-hmm.
Not by giving it to them, but by creating space for them to raise into it. And so that's become really my conviction today. And that's kind of my message that I'm putting out there. So yesterday I've been walking, it's a delicate walk.
Yeah.
I don't, and it's so much can be misunderstood. And so I did address it in a live yesterday in my group in a very, kind of just raw, emotional way. And just said, I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen more, and I'm going to be in my love, and I'm going to be in a space where these people can raise up and know that they are heard. So that's what I'm choosing. And I think to speak to that and to inspire white people that their presence, it isn't about them coming in and rescuing. All that does is disempower. They have the power to rise, they collectively, and I'm going to create the space for them to rise.
I love that. And I mean, I'm just sharing this has just been my feeling reading all of these emails from, everybody and their brother in businesses, from the big corporate businesses to the small people in our coaching industry. And I thought, oh, well, should I be writing an email like that? And it's like, I didn't feel like they sounded genuine. Why would I want to write an email like that? And so it just felt very, like Lisa, you said it so well. It just felt like they were trying to, rescue and prove that they were in solidarity versus being in solidarity. I mean, how I chose was to reach out to the African American friends that I have and just ask if you're okay. Is there anything you need? Do you need any support? And to me, that just is a better way that I can make a difference, my one person at a time. So, and Laura, anything that comes up for you?
So, yeah, so I love to hear how everybody's processing it. For me, there's two parts. There's this, my own inner work that's coming up. And then there's this inner critic I have, right? Like when you look at people that are eloquent and you say, oh, I wish I could have said that. And so what I chose to do in my newsletter was to actually forward something that Caroline Myss, a Facebook Live that Caroline Myss did that really touched me, because it was not, it was the whole idea of witnessing, right? And that's the listening, right? Like witnessing without changing. And I was actually, my mother had something traumatic happen when I was in utero, and it was a crime perpetuated by a Black man. And so, like, that's something that, Black men have always scared me, frankly. And life has given me opportunities to work with that and heal with that. And this is the next one. And when I was in 5th and 6th grade, you know how they bus Black people from inner city schools to or suburban schools?
Yeah.
I went the other way.
Okay.
So I spent my 5th and 6th grade in a predominantly Black school, and I definitely stood out. Like, I can remember, like, and so I have all this compassion because it didn't feel safe to be there. Like it didn't feel safe to not know, like the culture is different enough
Hmm.
at the time. And this was what, in the 1960s, early 70s, the culture was different enough. And so I feel like it sort of propped that work up. And then I'm actually attending a 2-day workshop this weekend called the transformation of color. And it's all around educating about how, like where we are. Because I feel like that's my contribution, is to really educate myself, to really begin to understand. Because the part that's touched me most about what I've seen that resonates is when people say like, and I'm part of this too, like, and somebody had just an amazing post. There was a message that a black woman did that was like, this is for all the white women out there that think you want to help. And it was so poignant, because it's like, you think you're helping by standing up for us, but the fact that you as a white family are having a conversation about our right to live, that's the problem.
Right.
And so for me, it's like just tuning into seeing, like, the universe has a way of putting what I need to hear in front of me. And so it's paying attention to what's in front of me and just following that thread and holding space. Because in my group, it's Pride Month. And so there are people whose kids have just come up that are all excited about Pride, and, like, they want to go celebrate that. And, my son and his friends are like, oh, there's a bigger picture going on here. And we are all over here supporting this initiative. And so it's like, how do I not make anybody wrong in all of that, right? How do I hold the space for all of it to be?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a question that obviously is bigger than all of it. Not a question. It's a challenge, it's an opportunity. I'm going to use the word opportunity. It's an opportunity for all of us that's bigger than all of us. And something that we can never put ourselves in somebody else's shoes, let alone a person of color. It's not something we can do. And I don't know, it's just a friend of mine that's African American did a Facebook Live, and she shared a story of her and her 6-year-old brother at the time. She was in 3rd grade, I think she said, and he was in 1st grade. And Laura, it was a situation like what you described, where they were the only 2 Black people in an all-white school. And I won't go into the story, but she told the story of what had happened to them the first few days that they were there. And it was just heart-wrenching. And how do you respond to that? And I just find, as a human being, the only way I can respond is to say, I feel your pain and I'm there for you. And what we're talking about is things that have taken generations to get to where we are. And I guess I'm always a cup half full person. I look at where we are today versus where we were 100 years ago, and we have made progress. Not nearly enough progress, but it takes time for change. So hopefully this will be the impetus for a major transformation, and not something that's kind of like the thing that happens now and then we all go about our business. I don't think it is. Lisa's shaking her head. Yeah, I don't think it is. I think it's something that has the power to really be the transformation, the tipping point, I guess I'll call it. So I'm hopeful that we'll continue to see that. But I just wanted to open the space and say, because each of us are having our own journey in this, and make sure you're all okay in terms of how it's impacting you, and then from a business standpoint, being real about how we address it as a business owner, and that we're each making our own decisions to handle it in the way that's right for us. Yeah, Lisa.
I wanted to sprinkle one more thing there. Also, that we are going through so much grief and anger in our own bodies because we're really assimilating. I mean, I have early memories of my very racist grandfather, like yelling at the TV because a Black person was winning on The Price is Right, and me being like, what?
Wow.
So it runs deep.
Yeah.
Right. So I think we're in a lot of grief and a lot of anger in our own bodies of just the timelines and the ancestry. But what I wanted to say is part of how I've decided to move in social media way
Mhm.
is by sharing, like you had mentioned, the beautiful story. I want to share Black people's voice.
Mhm.
And I
That's
feel
what I
like
did. I shared
I
the
don't want to
Facebook
put
post.
my voice in it. I want their voice in
Mhm.
it. And that's my contribution. That just
Yeah,
feels right.
I think that's perfect. Cool.
I'd like to make a quick comment
Mhm.
here. So I just moved right before COVID hit to another city. I was in Sacramento. Now I'm in Folsom, California, and my boyfriend and I moved in together. And my reluctance to move here was that it was a lot of very conservative white people in this area. It's beautiful, but it's very conservative. And so I came from a place with a lot of diversity, everything. That's where I lived, and so I really had my reservations about being here, although I knew this was my what it was for me to do. So here I am, and all this comes out. And I always joke to my boyfriend, "Oh, yeah, you think it's a bubble here, right?" And so on one of the nights of the rioting, my grandson, my boys are all three Black young men, all in high school, and he sent me a text, "Hey, Grandma, um, you and Mark need to be on watch 24/7 because they're coming to the suburbs." And I was like, okay, and so we did have some people come here, and we weren't sure what kind of protesting was going to be. So what ended up happening the following day is I saw the protesting over at the sheriff's department or the police department, and somebody had taken a video, and it was all these white people out there, and I hate saying white, non-colored people out there in solidarity for George Floyd. And I got emotional, and I was able to see my own prejudices as well of how I felt being here. And I just want to say that what it does for people of color, I think, at least for me, is it's like you're there and you're standing for it. And that totally melted for me so much being here and where I live. It's like, wow, I so needed to see
Mhm.
that you people are out there and you're there and you're saying, we're with you. We're with you.
Yeah.
Because when it's so ingrained in you all your life, it becomes the fabric of who you are. You think everybody is against you on some way. You just do. And it's like, anyway, I don't want to go into it, but it's like, oh my God, because I was ingrained with that from my father, from my family of, the Latin culture. So anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I didn't want to necessarily start on a down note because I do think there's a lot of hope, and
Yeah.
that's what I hear from you, Teresa, is that was hope for you. That
Yeah, it was beautiful. It's like melted some of my own, racial prejudices that I've had.
yeah,
Absolutely. It humbled me. I had shame. I felt shame about it, of how strongly I've been feeling that way. It's like, wow, it was really big in your body, Teresa. You knew it was there. I didn't know it was that big. Yeah, I felt shame, and not in a negative way. I needed to
right.
see that shadow of
Yeah,
myself.
yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, that's powerful. Awesome, awesome. Well, on that note, let's take a deep breath. Yeah. Okay. So let's hop into what's coming up in your business, what's going on, questions that you have. What's next?
I have a question about emails.
Okay.
I have a question about soft bounces and that sort of thing. So in my client management system that I have, um, it's monitored very, very like astringent, very astringent. And that's fine. So I have, people looking at it. So I just got a thing back from them saying, hey, Teresa, these are some of the emails that have soft bounces, hard bounces, deferred, blocked, that sort of thing.
Okay.
And I read the definition of a soft bounce, but just because something soft bounces doesn't mean I take that person out of my email. So can you help me with that? I'm trying to
Yeah.
understand
This is not totally my area of expertise, but I'll tell you what I know.
that. Okay.
A soft bounce usually happens, and if they gave you descriptions, tell me if this is consistent with the description they gave you. Usually happens like when somebody's mailbox is full.
Mm-hmm.
It happens a lot less than it used to because most of the time our mailboxes are really big these days. But people that never delete emails, that kind of thing, they can reach a point where their mailbox is full, or sometimes it'll say over quota, which means that their mailbox is full.
Okay.
In that case, I don't delete them unless the soft bounce has been happening for a period of time.
Okay.
If it happens for a period of time, then the reality is it will turn into a hard bounce. Most systems are set up that it'll let it soft bounce for a certain number of times. It depends on the system, and then it'll make it a hard bounce. A hard bounce, you might as well delete them, because it basically is something like the email is, it's not a valid email address or something like that. And they're never going to be viable probably. So you might as well delete them instead of having it kind of hitting against you in terms of your statistics every time.
Okay.
Does
Super helpful.
that make
I
sense?
just wanted to clarify that.
Is
Yeah,
that consistent with what you were reading from the descriptions?
it was. But then I didn't, when they sent it, because they're worried about like getting shut down by Mailgun or Blue Note, whatever that other
Right,
one is.
yeah.
And so they're like, Teresa, be sure and delete them. I'm like, I'm not deleting those. Those are,
Yeah,
I
I
looked
wouldn't.
at some of the
Do
names.
you have a lot of soft bounces?
Not, well, this last one I seemed to. I don't know. I probably had about, well, they were repetitive, maybe like 12 or 15. That was a lot, I thought.
That is quite a few, because I mean I have 6,000 people on my list, and I was looking at an email the other day, and I think I had like 4 soft bounces. So that is quite a few for the size of your list. You might look back in the history on those 12 people and just say, have they been soft bouncing, for the last 6 months? And if they have, then unless it's somebody I'd probably take them out of your list.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
what I'll do. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, I don't know why somebody would soft bounce for that long, though, to be honest. And that would be a question actually for your CRM. Would be, do you have a policy in place where you will unsubscribe bounces after a certain period of time?
Okay.
Because most systems do.
Okay.
They stop sending it. They stop trying to send because they know it hurts your systems.
Yeah.
It hurts your rating. So they don't call it rating, but it hurts your deliverability as the end result.
And they don't like that because they'll want to shut you down and say, no, we don't want you anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And
Okay.
for the company that is sending, whether it's MailChimp or it's ActiveCampaign or whoever it is, the reason they don't want it is because they're using these huge servers that are sending out not just your emails, but Laura's and Lisa's and mine and everybody else's. And they all add up together for their statistics as an ISP, as a sender, basically. And so if their statistics are as a sender are not good, then that can be a big problem for you. None of us use Infusionsoft, but there was a period of time, and I think it was late 18, early 19, when Infusionsoft servers were on the bad list. And deliverability for all these Infusionsoft people that were spending $300 a month for Infusionsoft was in the tank because of Infusionsoft, not because of anything they had done. So it can happen to the biggies too. And then there are things like hard bounces, you definitely want to delete. Blocks, I would delete, because usually those are spam emails. And if you see any spam emails, they usually come from opt-ins from your website. Unfortunately, they're usually the trawlers that are out there on the internet that are crawling for email addresses. Delete those immediately. If you see them, a lot of times you can tell them because instead of a name, it'll have just a series of random letters and numbers. And so if you see that show up in your list, even if it's just by accident, you happen to see it, open it up, and you'll probably see they've not opened a thing. Just delete it, because it's 98% for sure that it's a spammer. Were there any other kinds of messages you were getting, other types that you didn't know what it meant?
No.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Cool. And good for you for staying on top of it too, and for your company, because it is really important. I've been deleting a lot of people from my email list for 2 reasons. One is that what we're just talking about, deliverability, but also I'm trying to keep my day-to-day sendings below 5,000, because I price jump at 5,000 in ActiveCampaign, and so I want to make sure, okay, well, I'm going to keep it at 5,000 active people for a while. So yeah, good for you for staying on top of it.
Thank you.
Cool. What else is coming up? Lisa, I'm curious for you with the coming off of the 5 days, how are you feeling about, I'm going to call it reentry after 5 days?
To be honest with you, after letting kind of like just coming into the ease, I realized how incredibly tired I am.
Yeah.
So, I'm I really don't feel like massively generating. Like I'm not having the massive creative download. I mean, I went so fast and furious for these last 3 months. Like it was like an acceleration. Like I have honestly, I don't think I ever had just riding the ride. And so I'm coming out of it really like I'm tired. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie. And so I'm really just getting back into center and moving slowly. And I know that this summertime is kind of my time to reintegrate because
Mhm.
I see the acceleration of the fall.
Mhm.
So I'm just really like my assistant actually lives locally and she's actually going to come here today and help me organize a lot of files. So I'm
Mm.
just getting a lot of order in my
That'll
life.
be, yeah, that'll be a good clean
Spacious, but
start.
I'm not feeling a real call to like massive action right now. I need to rest and integrate for my next calling.
Mhm.
So it's this funny dance in between this
Yeah.
like doing and being, and I just really want to be right now. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I do have some questions.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Um, how well another celebration is that part of my agreement over these 5 days was to get really clear about pricing, and I know Teresa's had some pricing things come up in the last few days, and I'm ready to accelerate my pricing, and it's it's an edge for sure.
Mhm.
And it's time, and it's part of me sustaining what was depleting is doing too much for I want to say too little. Like my head's like, you charge a great amount of money, but my heart says it's too little, So, so moving into that, moving through fear. How many hours is a half VIP day typically? And what's the
Well,
structure?
it's whatever you decide it is. Typically, I will do 3 hours and 6 hours. And I've customized it if I thought I needed to. If I thought that 3 hours was not going to be quite enough, I've done 4 and then taken a break. So I've done like a 10 to 3 and taken a lunch break. Sometimes breaking it up can actually be really good for you and for the person doing the VIP day. Um, so at least 3, and it can be 4.
Okay. And then just structure it as based on the teachings. And I mean, you can't
Yeah,
just, it can't all be activation. It can't all be linear. I'm just seeing it has to be this kind of dance between integrative time. Like, and it would make it different if it was in person because I would take a walk in between or I would do a
yep,
ritual in between or, so
yeah,
yeah,
and
how to do
and
that virtually.
do as much as you can, make it interactive where a lot of times my VIP days, if I'm doing it virtually, I'll set up a flip chart so that we can use a flip chart and I can be even writing things on the flip chart for them. Or I'll have little exercises that I have them say, okay, I'm going to give you 10 minutes. I want you to, brainstorm on this, and then we'll come back together and debrief. Um, so try to do some things that do break it up if you can. Um, and then one of the things I think is most important is that we all, or well, not all, most of us have a tendency to like be screaming to the finish, and we don't leave time at the end to debrief and to say, okay, so let's kind of recap what we have accomplished today. And you want to do that not just for them but for you too, so they see the value out of what they've gotten. So let's recap. We did X, Y, and Z, and we've agreed that your next steps are going to be A, B, and C. Is that consistent with where you are? How is that feeling? Getting some feedback, and then of course whatever your next step is. With my VIP days, I tend to offer a 30-minute follow-up call because people do need to, like, they need to activate, as you said, they need to integrate after they've had the VIP day. In fact, I did a VIP day with Teresa Campos. I don't know if you remember. I mean, and we did a wrap-up call. And the wrap-up call serves two purposes. It's a great way to check in with people and say, okay, so how are you doing on implementing what we talked about? What's coming up? What are the challenges? Making sure that they're on the right track. And then it also kind of gives them time to consider a next step. So if they were considering working with you one-on-one or whatever it was, it gives them a little bit of a separation between the intensity of a VIP day and having to make a decision on, you know, continuing to invest or whatever it might be.
Okay. I have another question. Is this a good space?
Yeah, Teresa says it was super helpful. Do you mean the VIP day or the follow-up?
Both.
Okay.
Okay. Because I'm wanting to offer it as the launch for my 6-month program. I mean, my 6-month coaching, like our a 2.5, 3-hour kickoff for the 6-month. Yes.
As a bonus.
Well, we had discussed that in our last,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, it would be basically like a 2.5-hour kickoff to establish our goals and get us in order. And then, you know, that's my way of increasing the value so I can stand in the
Yeah, no, I think it's perfect. And I think this is good for all of us. What Lisa and I were doing, we're talking pricing strategy. And we're kind of at a price point where we really didn't want to go up on one price, but we wanted to offer a discount, a value for paying in full. So instead of discounting the pay in full price, she's going to bonus a VIP day, a half-day VIP day, if they pay in full. So that way she doesn't have to mess with the pricing, but they feel like they're getting a huge value in terms of paying in full.
Mm-hmm. And then my next question, and I know we went over this, so I don't want to take up a lot of time, but my brain kind of works that I need to receive information multiple ways to really get it. But I'm really feeling called. My next step is to do interview series. And we had talked a lot about this and do it through Facebook. Did we talk about that in our last group call? I just want to go back and get the information, but it was like, was it our one-on-one or was it the group call? So I can go back and take it in and get the notes. I think it was our group call. Okay.
I think it was, yeah.
And just to clarify, it's best to run it through your business and then share it to your private group. I mean, to your community.
If you want to use it as an advertising vehicle, there isn't a right way, to be honest. If you want to offer it as a value, a benefit of being a part of your group, so you only want to offer it in the group, then the way that I would leverage it is I would take chunks. So I'd take sound bites of those, 2 to 3 minutes, and I would put that on your business page as a teaser to get people to join the group.
Okay.
So you can kind of work it. It really does work like this, where you can work it. If you put it on your business page, you can advertise it because it's public. Then you can advertise it to bring more people into your group. If you put it in your group page, you can pull out a piece because you don't necessarily want to put the whole thing because it's part of the benefit of being in the group. But you could definitely take a snippet and then put that on your business page and use that as a way to get people in the group.
Okay, that's what I want to do. That feels good. That feels like an organic way to build out the group and to get some of the voices inside the group out. And that's part of how I want to optimize Black Lives Matters too, is by encouraging people of color I would like to interview some people of color.
That's great.
To let them speak to their experience and receive
That's
it.
perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
And you've got the added advantage, Lisa, of having the 1,000 people in your group where you've got a big enough audience that as a speaker, I would much rather speak, to be honest, do an interview with somebody in their 1,000-person Facebook group than I would on their business page, because I know if they're not going to advertise, if they're not doing Facebook ads against it, it's not going to get much play if it's on their business page. But if it's in a 1,000-person Facebook group, if it's halfway active, then that's that's an advantage for your speakers too.
Okay. And then one last piece, the platform best to do that, just to refresh my memory,
Well, there's BeLive is one. And Laura, that BeLive is the one you ended up using, is that right?
Yeah, BeLive is the one that I use and I like because it will record it there too. So you can easily download the recording and put it on YouTube or put it on Vimeo or wherever you store your recordings.
Yeah. Another one to look at is Restream. I think it's .com. The word stream is another one. And there are several others out there. Some of them have different bells and whistles. Some of them will restream, will stream the live on multiple platforms. So to stream it to YouTube and to TikTok and to
And Instagram. I would love to stream both Instagram and Facebook.
I'm not sure about Instagram because Instagram has the limit on time. So I'm not sure how that works with Instagram.
Right.
But
do you do that over your phone, Laura, or on your computer?
Yes, you could do it either way. So mostly I do it on my computer because I'm somewhere, but I have been out and about and used my phone as well.
Awesome.
How do you find it with the phone in terms of navigating the back end part of it, Laura? Is it pretty easy?
Yeah, it's not on the phone. It's you don't have the same access to being able to see what comments are coming up and being able to acknowledge them or comment on them. So you have access to the functionality, but it's harder to comment.
Yeah.
But on your desktop, it's easy to have that in there.
That's the big advantage with having a system like BeLive or Restream or something like that, because at least for me, when I've done the Facebook Lives, you can't run comments at the same time that you're streaming, and and it would be great if you could. You can see them. Hi there.
Hi, sorry.
This
My
is Dylan.
Nice
Sherry
to
and
meet you.
Victoria.
Very cool. So yeah, it's one of the advantages is you've got that functionality, and then of course the side-by-side split screen for interviews is important.
The other thing I realized, because I wasn't sure if I paid for it or didn't pay for it, you know how you get into that little thing?
The free
when
trial.
I go to download something, I thought that maybe it would only download if I upgraded, but it turns out that I have the free version, and the free version has all the functionality that I need. So
There's
that
a free version of BeLive? I didn't even know that, Laura.
yeah,
Okay.
there's a free version. And so it does what's kind of interesting about it is that when it puts you side by side, you actually get to choose your side by side look, like whether you want more filler or less filler, or anyway. So it just has some fun things. So yeah, I've enjoyed it, but I haven't used Restream or any of the others.
Yeah, I've heard good things about BeLive. It's one of the ones that's been out there the longest. So Restream is newer, but it's getting probably the best new press, if you will, right now.
Yeah, the other thing is that BeLive gives you like a guest link. So it's sort of like your Zoom number, right? So anytime I'm going to have a guest on, I send them the guest link. And I'm not scrambling for a different number and not having to make a different appointment, not having to track it. It's like, oh, this is my BeLive guest link, and I send it to somebody with the time. And then it actually manages when you're live who's in the room. So like you can be live and then people can come into a waiting room, and then you can move them into the live with you or out of the live with you. So it's actually, I found that to be sort of useful too, to the extent that you want to start something but then bring somebody in, or if you want to pull another person in, you can have more than 2 people.
Did I answer your questions, Lisa?
Yeah, it did. I just started looking it up. I'm like, okay, what's BeLive? Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's
okay.
I was like, woo, let's go do that. Yeah, that's awesome. I see on the free one that you can only do 3 live broadcasts per month with the free one. So that's a limitation if I wanted to do it weekly, but I'm really excited. That feels like my next natural step.
I love that for you, because you love being on video, you love interviewing, you're curious, you're a good listener. So I think it's going to be a good vehicle for you.
Yeah, I think it'll help build out the Facebook group, and that feels really potent right now. So
yeah, very cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What else? Laura, I'm curious on the email series that you implemented. Have you gotten any responses to any of the emails?
I've gotten one.
Okay.
And it's interesting. I got one to somebody that was like a new mom that had just joined.
Okay.
And so she was talking about what was on the top of her mind. So it was great to be able to acknowledge that and, and ask her a few more questions and continue that conversation.
Yeah, and that's great, because if you can start that conversation via email, then it can naturally flow where it's supposed to flow. You know, if there's the right opening and it feels like there's a match, then you can invite her to a call.
Well, I'm also finding in my group, it's sort of interesting because I'm finding when the Facebook ad gets a lot of comments on it, then suddenly I get a lot of people in my group. And so it's this interesting thing. Like I'll be like, oh, there are 10 people waiting to get in. And you're like, yes. Well, and what's fascinating is that so many of them, like I'm beginning to be able to see, like there's the mom that's kid has just come out to them. And maybe they've come out to them as gay, right? Or maybe they're trans, or maybe they're gender fluid. And then there's the mom who they've come out to them, but the dad doesn't know.
Yeah.
Like that's another big thing that goes on. And then there's, you know, the moms that have like the neighborhood house where they take all the stray people and, you know, and have the stories of where like they can go out and be themselves at their house, but when the child is at their own house, they're like, no, no, you're not gay. No, 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 you're not this, you're not that. So it's like, what do you do with the people that you want to help but you can't help because they're not your child? So it's really interesting to begin to see, you know, because when they come in, they're like, oh, I'm here because of blah, 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 and this is what I need. And you're like, oh, and I can piece together that there are other people in the community because I've heard all their stories, right? Like when they introduce themselves, I hear their stories. And so, so my mind is busy sort of thinking about, oh, how could you streamline that? Like, is there a way to create like subgroups within the groups, but or do I even want to encourage subgroups within the groups? Because sometimes it's really good to have way outside perspectives, like people that aren't in the same situation as you are.
Yeah.
So so that's where.
Well, first of all, I think it's great market research for you, because it gives you content for, you know, ever in a day from their comments. You know, there is a just a networking group that I belong to. It's called 100 Coffees.
Yeah.
And it's a networking group. Some of you may be interested in it. It's literally just entrepreneurs. It's almost more social. There's some business element to it, but it's a little combination of social and business. And one of the things that they do that could be a possibility is people that are very active in the group, the two people that founded it, are open if they want to start something kind of on their own. So they do what they call coffee chats, and they will set up an event within the group that's on a specific topic or at a specific time. And so it's possible if you had a mom that was in one of those buckets that, you know, you thought, you know what, about reaching out to her and saying, you know, I'm thinking about starting a separate, you know, event that we would do on Zoom that's just around moms that their dads don't know, the kids' dads don't know, you know, and inviting people to a special Zoom and having that special topic, if you will. So that could be one way to do it. I don't know that you want to go about creating different groups because it just gets hard to manage them.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And I think you're right. I think the different perspectives is good.
Well, and then there was something you said that, like when you do challenges, there's something in a group that you can do that categorizes certain kind of data together.
Units. Yes, it's called units. And that's a possibility too. Actually, that brings up another possibility. Units would be more if there were specific resources you wanted to add around certain topics. You could create it. The units don't have to be sequential. There could be a unit on, you know, dealing with the dad that doesn't know, and another unit on dealing with, you know, being the neighborhood mom, in unit for each one of them. But then the other thing that popped when you said that is that you also can not prioritize. You can group topics. So you can create topic headings, if you will, for posts, and then give a post that category. So you've got different categories of posts.
Yeah, okay.
And then people can go in and they see that, I think they show up on the right-hand side in the bar, if I remember correctly. And they can go in and they can see at the side categories, and they can see, you know, I don't know what you call it, dads that don't know, but whatever that they can see that topic, and know that that's of interest to them. They click on it, and it brings up the posts that have that topic. Do you use that at all, Lisa? Can you unmute? Do you use the categorization of posts at all?
No, it's really funny. I was just looking because I need to. And so I'm just kind of taking this in because um, I'm needing all the videos to be pulled because I'm going to transcribe them for chapters of my book because there's some good teachings in there. And I'm going through because there's like 45 lives and I don't know how to tell her the marks to get to them. So I'm going in and naming them and then trying to categorize, but it's kind of a shit show in there. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
And then when you go in and look at the videos, you have to click on each one to see the name and the category. And it's just, so
yeah, they don't, and they're not even in order. That's what I don't understand. I don't understand how they show up. Yeah.
That would make it easier for her to go in and pull what I need to pull. So I'm kind of playing with that right now.
Yeah. That could just, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I think that the categorization of posts is probably the place to start, Laura. And just don't have too fine a categories, but just create the 3 to 5 buckets to start. And as you see a post that relates to a topic, tag it. I think all you have to do, if I remember correctly, is hit on the 3 dot thing and it comes down, if I remember correctly.
Okay, I'll check that out because it would be good, because I can point people, like, so what I do is I know, like, oh, I did a Facebook Live on that, or, oh, I interviewed somebody on that. So here's the link to that. So I'll like send them to that resource, but it would also be great to send them to something that was more robust than that.
Yeah, that's an example too of when you get that in place, that would be an email I would add to your nurture sequence.
Yeah.
Where I would add an email that says, looking to get the most out of the Facebook group, did you know that the posts are categorized, and explaining that. So if there's anything that you can do to kind of let people know the value and increasing the value of the resource is going to keep them more committed to both reading your emails and going to the Facebook group.
Well, and I also learned that so I have a resource list, and what I've learned is that, like, the people who originally posted the resource, that I get to capture their name too, because it feels so much better to say, oh, so-and-so from the group posted this, right? And give them credit.
Because absolutely.
People are looking for the same thing as they come in.
Yeah.
So, so I have both things going now. I have both the nurture sequence for the people as they join, but I also have the nurture sequence for people that were already on already ongoing. So that just started this week. And so it's really interesting to see, like, the open rate of the people that just joined is like 3 times higher.
Yeah.
But part of what my objective is, so full circle to the beginning of the conversation with Teresa, is when we get to the end of the month, like, I can start to take people who haven't opened an email in the last X amount of time. I can just take them off of my list.
Yeah.
Because they will have had plenty of opportunity to open an email. So if they haven't opened one with all of this going on, I can just be like, okay, I'm not resonating. That's fine. And on I'll go.
Yeah, absolutely. That's perfect.
And then so I'm just watching those numbers, and so we changed the title of one because we were like, wow, that one's doing very well.
Did it go up?
I think it actually went further down.
Did it really? That's interesting. And it was
so there's something about that second one.
Was it the second one? It was the one after the welcome one, right?
Yes, the one after the welcome one.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I'll have to go look at that in the series.
How many in your sequence?
I have 10 right now.
10.
They go out every other day. So every other day. So one goes, and then 2 days later one goes, and then 2 days later one goes.
The goal is to get to at least 30 days. So you've got a 30-day sequence that everybody goes through when they first open.
So I could do every third day and I'd be at 30 days, but Sherry would prefer that I add emails. So what I'm doing is, when I create content that I particularly like, right, when there's something that I think, oh, this could resonate, then I can pop it into an email and pop it into the nurture sequence.
Exactly.
So that's how I've been doing that. And then I had a really, I actually had a session with a woman who was trained at Berkeley here in Boston, and who plays alchemy bowls, and has been a performer and like a TV host and all kinds of other things. And I had a session with her, and she actually recommended a condenser mic and a stand, and it's so cool because the stand has like I'm not musical at all, so all of these things are like cool for me. Like the stand that has the arm that pulls out too, so you
Right.
can pull it closer and it swivels. The little thing
Right.
swivels. You can move it one way or the other. And the big deal, because the challenge that I have is the bowls make such beautiful sounds, but they're so varied, right? They're off the chart. And so she actually had me buy this little box. It's called an Evo 4, and it's called an interface.
Mm-hmm.
And what this interface does is you plug your mic into it, and then it has something called a smart gain. So it actually trains itself. So you click the button, and for 10 or 15 seconds, you play the loudest you're going to play. And then it sets in how it's going to keep changing it. Like it changes all of the stuff for me. So I don't have to pay attention to like, oh, that dial's too high and I have to keep adjusting it. It will
Right.
do it for me. So it's really cool. So after the last session, one of the women who usually comes in person was like, I felt like I was in the room with you.
That's great.
That was really,
Yeah.
that was really, really cool.
Yeah. Would you talk just a little bit for Teresa and Lisa about how you've set up the systems, how you've automated basically that process?
Yeah, so I use Acuity as my scheduler, and so Acuity allows me to make an appointment, and that appointment can be a class, and that class can either be a one-time class or a multi-time class. And then so I have a link, like they give me a link, but I can override that link. So mine is like, connect to Lara/Crystal Bowls. So I can use the same link every time. Um, and when somebody gets a link, it allows them to sign up for that class. And then they integrate with PayPal or Stripe. And you know how when you use PayPal, PayPal sends you somewhere else and then you have to come back? Well, Stripe just allows them to put their credit card in. So I chose to integrate it with Stripe. So I don't have to, like when I run an event right now, I just get to publicize it and use the same link and update, like 3 places in my um, in my whatever, my confirmation email, and I do a 24-hour before and a 1 hour before reminder. So I just have a few things that I update in those, and then it's easy. And like, it's funny because then the money goes right into my account. It goes to Stripe and then it goes right into my account. And so it's really cool. And then they have a really cool feature of being able to use coupon codes. So when I want to offer like my mom group, like, okay, they haven't experienced the crystal bowls, and I can say, okay, so you like 50% off for this time. I can give them a coupon code that's really easy for me to set. And I can actually, figure out I'll only honor 10 of them. So you can say the first 10 of you will get this, or I can say I'll honor one for each person, but no more than one, or I can make it unlimited. So there's actually a lot of kind of fun functionality, easy functionality, I'll call it. And it's all done through the calendaring system. So I don't have to do anything else.
And it's going to make it easier for you, even as you do start doing live now too, because I know that was something you were consistently not struggling, but it was a pain. You were taking money at the door and having to be.
That's it. I was taking money after I was done, and as you guys know, when you're in the energy, dealing with money is like, what? Like, what planet am I on?
Yeah.
And there's something about I'm using the words locking in, but there's something about somebody paying, like as an intention to go and paying versus, well, I might be there and I might not be there, and I'll pay you if I am there.
Yeah.
So this just cleans it all up. So if you want a space, then you pay. And what's really interesting is one day for a 7:30 start, there was a 7:29 entry, a 7:27 entry, a 7:25 entry. But what was great about that is I didn't have to do anything. Like I didn't have to, yes, I have room. Yeah, I'm totally free of that process. And so I love that, and every time I get done with a session, I update it for when my next session is, so that I just have it there. And I started putting that in my email signature, like being able to do that. So anybody can sign on to the bowls. And then I've had people starting to ask me, they're like, oh, I'm going to miss that one. Can I just get the recording? And I'm like, yep, that will be $15. So,
I
oh, and
love
that's
it.
the other thing Acuity does is they allow you to do an upsell. So they buy the Crystal Bowl event and they could buy a recording for whatever you decide, or they could buy a private session with you for something. Like you could decide what you want to put in there. But I thought that was really, it's like, wow, that's like the functionality of all of these big systems and in something that's not that complex.
Yeah, and the beauty of it, I mean, I've honestly been really impressed with how it's all worked. Is that it's $10 a month more, and with the $25 a month version of Acuity, you also get the texts. So you can also do text reminders. Is included in that. 'Cause like right now, I'm doing text reminders separately, and it's a pain in the butt.
I don't think I have the upgraded version of it. I'll have to check. I thought I was doing this
Didn't
on
you
the.
have to upgrade to the next version to get the multiple?
No, I only have one text that they give me, and I pay $19 a month for Acuity. I don't get multiple texts.
You pay $19 in total?
Yeah.
You must be on a grandfathered program. I think now I'll have to look at that, because I looked at upgrading because I'm on the $15 plan.
Yeah.
And I looked at upgrading. When I was looking at it, Laura, it looked like maybe that was for subscriptions. That was for recurring payments. That's what it was. If
Yeah.
you want to do recurring
Yeah, that's
payments,
a whole different ballpark. Yeah.
you have to upgrade if it's recurring subscriptions. Yeah.
Mhm.
So anyway, so if you're planning on doing like a workshop, like a one-off workshop, and you want to make it easy, it's something to consider. Now, I know, Lisa, you and I talked about it a little bit, but you already had it set up through PayPal on the opt-in page. So if you've got something in place, I'm not saying change. I'm just saying it's an option if you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I have been working on, and I mentioned this to you before, Sherry, about a course, right? And so we had talked about that, and anyway, I had some support with that from somebody else who's a teacher, and so she helped me to just do one module of this big course that eventually I'll get done, but I'm all good. So I'm actually 2/3 of the way done with this course, or with this module. So what I would like to do is, of course, to offer it at a low price,
Right.
and to the to my whole email list, but for the Facebook people who have not opted in for something.
Yes, the Facebook people that have opted in for the ads. Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. The one thing I would do with the course, the first time you're doing it, because you don't have it all done, which I would recommend, by the way, is the first course that you do, you basically need to have the welcome module and module 1 complete before you launch. But don't do all the content and then launch the course, because frankly, it'll take you too long to get the whole content done, and you won't have the best course, because the best course is if you do it as you go, where you can be getting feedback as you go from the first group of people that go through it.
I've already done it. I'm just going to stop you for a minute. I've already done most all of it, because it's all content that I've had and that I've used. So I'm just putting it all in, and and just dialing some stuff in. So I'm just about done with everything.
So you're not recreating content?
No, I'm just recycling content, putting it together in a new platform.
Okay, cool. That would be, I'm sorry, I'm thinking another client. Okay. So, but if you haven't done a course, and you're even, it depends on what you're doing. If you're totally just putting in like videos,
no.
The only thing that I would make sure, Teresa, is that it hangs together as a course.
It does.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel really good about the content that I have and how I put it together. Yeah.
Okay. So the one thing that I would do is I would, if you have it completely done, then it isn't as important. If you don't, then typically the first time you launch, you want to do a mini launch with everybody starting at the same point. You wouldn't have to if you have all the content already done. So you could have, you have your email nurture for the first, the people, and they sign up for the Facebook ad, they get the sole purpose free gift. They get the email series. It takes about, 7 or 8 days. You can take a couple days off and then start a whole new email series that basically promotes the course and sell the course.
Okay.
The difference would be at the end, there's going to be a few more emails because you're going to want to have an email where you basically unveil the course and you talk about the modules that are in it, and or you send them to a sales page. And then you're going to want to have a couple of emails that more talk about the benefits of the problems that the course solves. You're going to want an email that talks about kind of frequently asked questions. So there are some other emails that you would want to add to that series. It's just a little different than asking for a consult.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, I never thought about launching it at a particular date. I was just like, oh, here it is. So I like that, launching it at a particular date.
Yeah, you could do either. If you've got it done, the reason to do it,
Almost done.
Yeah, if you've got it as a particular date, then you know your deadlines.
Mm-hmm.
So if you say I'm going to launch it and it's going to start on July 1, then you know that July 1, it opens up the welcome in module 1, and then July 7, it opens up module 2, and July 14, module 3. So you know when you have to have each module done for the people that are going through it. If you do it as an evergreen launch, which is basically they can buy it whenever they want to, then you're going to have to basically set your days for the first sale that you have.
Yeah, I do see what you're saying. And I think that, it was intriguing to hear you say, have July 1, that sort of thing. And at the same time, I want an evergreen course that I can just say, hey, this is what I have. I don't have to monitor it in that way, but I do want to offer like 1 hour Q&A, as part of the program for people to jump in. And at the same time, I would have to tag monitor dates month of people like, oh, well, you can't just come in for the next 6 months for my Q&A, right? I mean, I'll give you a couple opportunities here. So, I mean, I can do that with tagging as well, and change Zoom numbers and that sort of thing. But so there's, some moving parts to this whole thing. I definitely see, and I'm not putting myself on a deadline. And yet, I don't know, it's just kind of like I had put off for the side for a few weeks, and then it's like, it just came up and I'm like, boom, I got so much stuff done.
Well, and if you've got it as a resource, it's a great follow-up to the Facebook ad. If it's a low ticket, what are you thinking you're going to want to sell it for?
Well, that's the thing, is I've been all over the place, I mean, there's a lot of value, but I also want people to have an easy yes. So I was thinking, I started like at 17 because you had mentioned me that number, and I'm like, so now I have it up to 47. Or 97. I don't know.
How many modules is it?
It is 4.
Okay.
And it has a video. So there's a video, there's the script, and then there's the practical questions, the work that you would do in each of the module.
Okay.
And it's good.
How long is each module? Like how deep is it?
Yeah.
The practical part of it, it's deep. Yeah. I mean, you read through the content, I explain it in the video, and then you're going to go and answer these questions or do some of the practical work. And
let me ask you a question this way. If you were going to buy this course from a mentor that you follow, how much would you be willing to pay?
I'd be willing to pay $97.
Okay. And do you think that is the market, what the market would be? Is that where you think that course would sell in the market?
I don't know I don't know that I could answer that question from that perspective.
It seems low to me.
Okay.
I mean, online courses, there's kind of, there's 3, I'm going to call them buckets for online courses. There are the mini courses, the teaser courses that are the 47 to 97, I'll call it. Those are usually, they answer a pretty specific problem, and they're a way to give people an experience of you. And then usually they're upselling it as something else. Then there are low ticket online courses, which are somewhat driven by the market, because there are some markets that, like Laura's in the mom market. The mom market is unfortunately known for not being willing to invest a high ticket as much. It's harder to find them. So those courses will tend to be in the 197 to 497 range. And then there are the, what are kind of known as the high ticket courses. And the interesting thing is that from 997 to 1997 is, depending on who you talk to, there isn't a whole lot of difference in the sales if you go over $1,000. From 997 to 1997 there is, for sure, but like, let's say from 1297 to 1997 there isn't a lot of difference. So for most online courses, I don't recommend going above 1997, and I know you're not considering that higher price point anyway right now, unless it's really part of a program. So it includes, you know, group coaching calls or coaching calls and other kind of bells and whistles around it. So the decision that I think you get to make is this a course that you always want to use just as an intro teaser, and then selling it at 47 or 97 is okay because it's a strategy and you repurpose content you already had. So there's, you know, it's a great way to give people an experience of you at a low investment. Or is it something that you really feel good about that's like, hey, this is some good stuff, and you really want to sell it at 397, 497 or something like that, and make it one of your, you know, your more cornerstone offers for the do-it-yourselfers, if you will.
Yeah, I think it falls actually in between that, Sherry, where it is not necessarily a cornerstone. It's a piece, but and it dives people into some deep work.
Okay.
But there's more work to follow, of course. And but yet it's not like, you know, yeah, here is for a few bucks you can get this. It's like, no, it's some good content. So the number that came to my mind was 147. Because it feels like it's somewhere there in between of that, of yeah.
My guess is that you wouldn't see a lot of difference in sales at 147 versus 197. How does 197 feel?
It feels like it'd be easier for people to say no.
Okay. And how about 147 versus 97?
Well, 97 feels easy. 147 feels like that it's something that, like, it's easy for me to go low because that's just my stuff.
Yeah, right.
So that's why 147 feels like it stretches me, and but yet not puts me out in a place where where I won't feel confident.
I'm a little concerned about going straight from the Facebook free gift to 147 or 197, to be honest, in an email series. So if you're only doing it in an email series, I would probably be more inclined to do the 97. But I also love the idea of doing something at a higher ticket to your group.
Okay.
First, because
I could do.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, so this is what came to me. Yeah, I would be totally fine offering to the Facebook group for 97. They don't know me. My group does know me. That I would feel like totally fine doing a higher price and say to the Facebook group, hey, because you've opted in, blah, 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 this is my special offer at $97, whereas normally it is $197. Like, that feels much more balanced to me inside my body.
Yeah, and I would think about at least $297 if you're going to have it as a regular price. I mean, I think I see Lisa smiling on the value. Is the not valuing enough coming up for you, Lisa? So yeah, I think you have to think about the value of the content that you're providing, and I just imagine that what you're giving is well worth at least $4.97, quite honestly.
Yeah, the exercises that I have are like some really good practical exercises for shadow work and, the stuff that I do. And it's like
Right.
that in itself, I was going through it today and I'm like, this is like some work, some good stuff here. So
I'm curious, what's
okay.
stopping you from offering it at $4.97?
Well, so I'm thinking about my email list and going, I don't know, sometimes I feel like I've been getting a lot of new people and those people have been willing to pay, like not blink an eye at the price that I'm, offer that I'm saying. And I just had a client yesterday I did a consultation for, and I told you about this, Sherry. It's like I raised my prices $400 just in right before that consultation. This is what I'm doing. And I gave her the price and she's like, I'm gonna get back to you, Teresa. I'm gonna see how I can get this to work. So, but I have this old, and this is part of even my old self, my old identity, and part of this email where it pulls me back into that scarcity bullshit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I'm speaking to when I'm answering the question about the 497, and I need to move on from that and let those people, because those people are still going to pick at my information and they're still going to do all that. But yeah, I mean, you guys get where I'm going with this, right? I'm kind of processing as I'm talking about this whole thing. It's like, I got to speak to this other part of my, of my group of like, yeah, this is a 497 or whatever that amount.
Yeah. And the thing is that you take this step forward of taking your prices up on your 6-month program and your coaching, and then you sell a $97 course. And I'm thinking more publicly now. And if people don't know where to place you, because if you're worth, the higher price for your program, your 6-month program, and then you give away your courses, you're sending a mixed signal to your audience.
Yeah.
So it's one thing to offer the course for $97 as a welcome to my community gift, in a sense. Mm-hmm. We can position, even if you sell it at $4.97 every day, we can position the emails where the emails say, hey, I'm so happy to have you here, that as a welcome to my community, this is a one-time opportunity to experience what I do for, would that be 80% off, $97 instead of $4.97. This is the only time that you'll get this offer as a new member of my community. Mm-hmm. That's totally in integrity. And obviously you keep that true. It's totally in integrity, and we'll get some of those people in that first 30 days, which is really important, to say yes and to become buyers, which will then potentially become one-on-one clients and so on and so forth. So that's perfectly within a very, I think, good strategy. But I think the other end of the strategy is, what about doing an offer to your list for $4.97?
Yeah, I'm not feeling the $4.97.
Okay.
I'm feeling at least a $2.97. At least
okay, well, we got
for what I, because
we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, because this is a module, right? So I do feel, that's what I'm feeling in this moment. But I'm glad I'm feeling that $2.97 versus a lot less.
I think I've had this conversation with all of you. My philosophy on pricing is first doing vision-based pricing. So starting with, how many do you want to sell? And if you want to sell, 10 of them, and then the question is, starting with how much do you want to make? If you want to make $5,000 and you want to sell 10 of them, well, then that sets your pricing at $500. If that $500 is something that you can't get out of your mouth, and I mean that figuratively, saying it, or even, thinking about putting it in an email series, which, is a different story, then start at something else and work your way up. Because you can always take price up, but it's harder to take price down. You can discount, but it messes with your value proposition.
Okay, so with this module that I'm doing, there are other modules I'm going to pull from the big program I already have, right? Okay. I may not have all that filled in the big program, but all of the things have been set out, right? All the modules. So what I want to be able to do is to say, okay, you can take this and I can pull this, right? These two different pieces. It's like when I worked with Bill Barron. It's like he had this whole program, but yet he had, master the art of, selling, master this, and you just buy those different things. So that's my whole, that's what I'm working. That's the platform that I'm working from, so to speak. So these different modules that you can buy, and some of them might be purchased differently depending on the
Yeah.
content.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So the other thing you can do is if $297 is what feels, you want it to feel like a stretch. You don't want it to
Yeah.
feel like a giveaway, which I think
Right.
it does feel like a stretch if you've gone from 47 to 97 and we're at 297. Okay. So if 297 feels like a stretch, but that it also feels like, yep, I can get behind that. I know that there's
Yeah.
that value
Yeah.
there. Then what I would recommend that you do is that when the first launch that you do, you say, I've created this course, and as as celebration of the first offering, it's $297. My intention is for it to be $497, which is true. And I think what I would do is I would do that launch to your group first, to your list, before you start offering it at the $97.
Okay.
Just so that you've got kind of a little bit of a separation there. And then what I think we need to talk about a little bit, probably on our next call, Teresa, is how do you launch it? Like, what do you, how do you get the traffic to launch it? Is it a sales page? Is it just emails? 297 is kind of on the edge for emails. You have an engaged community, so it might work, but it probably is going to hurt your conversion to just do an email series at 297. So we'll talk about that next time.
Okay.
Does that make sense, though?
Yeah, it does. I don't know what you meant by hurt my email conversion. I don't know what you meant by that. I know what that means.
Into sales. So if you're the lower price that you're doing, the easier it is to sell it in just an email sequence. If as you raise the price, that's when it becomes more important to have a webinar or to have a sales page that has a video on it that explains that kind of thing in order to sell it effectively.
Got it.
Okay, so which is another reason why I also get that sometimes it's easier to just go with lower pricing, but it may not be the best thing for you longer term.
Right, and that's I'm looking for ways to create revenue where I am not having to have a conversation with somebody 24/7.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Cool.
Okay, thank you very
You're
much.
welcome. So anything else come up for anybody else on pricing, Lisa?
Well, that just brings up an inquiry for me. Thank you. I'm really looking at like repurposing information, especially when I go into these like kind of yin spaces where I need to fill my container for the next bump of creative download.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, I can't just keep generating information all the time. It's not sustainable. and I love when it happens. I have this for last year, I don't know what year, sometime, I created this 4-part video, was Activate Your Intuition.
Okay.
So it's a 4-part series. It comes with, it has workbook. It's like basically what Teresa's saying. And I'm like, wait, I have a course right there.
Yep.
Now, the issue that I see, because I do tend to be a little bit of a perfectionist, is that, who knew? is that it was all done on Zoom. And the quality of the video is just, it's not that uber professional, high quality video that I feel really comfortable standing in. Is there any workaround? I mean, all the information's there. I guess I could go and reshoot it all.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would have to see it, but generally speaking, I probably wouldn't worry about it too much. What is it, Zoom where it was interactive with other people?
No, it's actually, I've had the first 2 modules, everything clipped out that would make it not evergreenable. It's just, how, I mean, it was before I had the camera.
Yeah, and the conversion's not great.
Grainy Zoom records. So it's not like that, like, it's not, what's Grace Lever, like, bam.
Right. Yeah.
Shot in a studio quality, but the content is rich.
Right. My inclination would be to say, let's sell it as it is. And if it becomes something that people are really responding to and they're liking, you can then go re-record the videos. And it's worth you upgrading the video quality for going forward. But let's prove it out and make sure that it's something that people want before you create a lot of work for yourself.
Okay. then that's awesome. And that brings up another question. Like when I think into like creating these 4 module pieces, that's really juicy in my body. And so, because I love video and I love teaching, I'm really feeling called to put something out for the highly sensitive person. And I'm like, wow, that could be a 4-step video module where the video, you know, like this could be a creation project, which
Right.
feels really light. And so I guess my question is, it would be more fun to sell it as a live program
Okay.
and then capture the video and the content and then repurpose it as an evergreen, right?
Yeah.
How do we jump over that issue of Zoom always being a not high quality video? Like, should I be teaching in a different way or a different platform that will have a higher quality so then it would be easier for me to multi-purpose?
Yeah, great question. It used to be that GoToMeeting had a higher video quality. And so a lot of people that they were planning on taking a course they were doing live and making it evergreen would record on GoToMeeting instead of Zoom. Zoom was really early at that time though. GoToMeeting is expensive. So I'm not sure that's probably going to solve your problem. What I probably would do, well, yeah. Could you send me a link to one of the Zoom videos that you're talking about so I can see what it
I
looks
also just thought that what I could do is I could do my live Zoom and I could also have a recording device. I could be doing both optimally, really. I could be teaching and I could be like have my phone or another device that's just in optimized recording.
Yeah, you could do that.
They were positioned so it's like I'm looking in both.
Yeah, that would be worth trying for sure. Because the thing you have to be careful of when you do a course live with the intention of making it evergreen is you have to kind of separate the teaching with the Q&A.
Yeah, well, and then edit. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the beauty of editing. And I'm paying enough attention in my lives where I know where I want something to edit that I'm taking an extra pause. When I'm like, if I'm welcoming people, then I kind of shift gears, I pause, and I'm like in teaching. So it's really clippable. So
Yeah.
I'm starting to kind of program myself for that
That's
in my
good.
teachings.
Also, Zoom does have the ability to record in high def. Like there is a Zoom setting that you can choose high def. It just requires a lot more bandwidth. So you would need to do some testing to make sure that you
Yeah.
have the bandwidth to allow the high def recording.
Yes, I've
But
done. It doesn't seem to be that much of a difference, to be honest.
No, okay. Because you know, so like if you look at where I am right now, I'm not in optimal light and you can see, right? So you would say that's a poor Zoom recording if I were recording it. But the light that you and Teresa in are both beautiful.
Right.
Like if you did the recording from where you are right now, that would feel like, to me, that would feel like.
I have to tell you how it looks and how it records is different.
It's very different.
Like I can look at it and it looks crisp and clear, and then I look at the recording and it still has green. To upgrade into the high HD on Zoom, it's an upgrade, and they make it look like it's $19.97 a month, but you have to pay $19.97 for 10 participants. So it's actually $200 a month.
Wow.
So it's kind of weird. Yeah, they're like $19.95, but that's for 10 admins. So it's $200 a month. It's kind of a scammy little thing. So we kind of got to go with what we got.
But Zoom also, in my experience, allows you to up and down and play with your plan however you want. So if you're going to do this, you're going to record something and you're going to do it over the month or whatever, you could pop yourself up that month, because if recording it in high def means that you don't have to pay, you don't have to do it all over again. That certainly is worth $200, and then you pop yourself back down to the plan the minute you're done. Like I've had a lot of experience doing that for people.
Oh, that's smart. I'll look into that.
It would be worth at least testing. I mean, you know, the question is it significantly better?
Right. That's the question. Right.
I think I just might go with a 2-plan option, like a video recorder or something.
Your phone and Zoom, yeah.
Both, and just put it on airplane, and I don't know. It's all an experiment, but
you're not doing any slides or anything. So so you don't have to show that. So that could be an option.
Fun.
I put my, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, you just have to work on the volume thing, right? From the perspective of if you have two things going, if anyone is making any noise, you'll get feedback.
Yeah.
I was just gonna,
Festival.
sorry, I was just gonna add, so I turned some of my lights on because I have lights and I have, you know, like actual, this isn't, the ring lights aren't necessarily the best, but it's a good side light for where I am. But I have, you know, like the big lights that I bought from Amazon. They go all the different colors. Yeah, they go all the different colors, and the brightness of the color itself. I've got one in front. I don't have the one to my side on, but and I know the quality of the film is what you're talking about, Lisa. But you know, I know you know this, but the lighting is huge for how we look, right? And so anyway, just
Yeah.
putting lights on to show.
Can you turn your screen around and show us what you're talking about?
Yeah, let me turn this off. So like I put that one on my side because that's like my, you know, a wall. And then I have that one up there right now that's covered with a piece of paper because I don't want it really bright right now. But when I do a webinar, I take that paper off. And then over in that corner is the other light, just like the one I just showed you. And I bring that one over and I adjust it depending on where my window, the sun's coming in through the window to give me the optimum light for everything to look right. And then I have a backlight back here that lights up her more that I'll put on.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I just have the ring light, and yeah, it isn't quite enough all the time. So.
Right, right.
Yeah, it's the side lights that make it, like I have kind of the same thing. I'll show you.
And my room's yellow. The walls are painted yellow, and I'm like,
well, you guys know how I've struggled with the lighting in this office. I mean, what I have, I'll move my camera. So I have, can you see?
Yeah.
So that's like, I have this other lamp that I sometimes
Like a
turn on,
box.
and I have the ring light that's above, you can't see it, but there's a ring light that's up above my desk. And then I have the other one that's on a stand like Teresa's, that's on my left. So it's kind of the same thing. It's basically you want, you know, you want lights coming at you from the side and then from the front, if possible, depending on where you're at. But lighting is the hardest thing to deal with. It really is. Okay, sorry guys, we've got over a little bit here, but great question.
This was good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm so excited. I mean, it's like I love that Teresa, you've got your course about ready to go, and that it inspired you know, an idea for a new income generating opportunity for you, Lisa, that feels easy. And that's, I know, what we're all about right now. Okay, so let's close down for the day. I think I have calls. At least I know you were going to schedule. And Teresa, we should, if you want to send me a screenshot, we didn't talk about your Facebook ads. If you want to send me a screenshot again, just so we can kind of do a check-in on where we're at. But I think we're probably good to kind of let it go right now and collect some more data, and then we'll talk about next steps in our next call. Anything else?
Sounds good.
Okay, everybody. Love you all. I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Bye, ladies.
Bye.
thank you.
Bye.